We're rolling. Timer starts now. Mark. Hi, I'm Ford.
And I'm Sky, and these are not our real names. These are our superhero names, and with our powers combined, we formed the writing partnership L. Skyford. Welcome to Booklandia.
You've joined us today for a minisode, where we will geek out about literary topics like plot and character tropes, and maybe some book news. But before we get much further, did you know you can watch our faces do this episode by subscribing to us on Twitch at L. Skyford or YouTube at L.Skyford? You should do it. We give good face.
And sometimes there's a dog bomb at Ford's house.
This is true. For our other socials, you can follow us on Twitter at SkyfordL, on Instagram at L.Skyford. And if you're interested in our book, blog, or even more book reviews, head over to our website, lskyford.com.
Lastly, this and every episode are chock full of oversharing and spoilers, and every episode is rated E for explicit. You have been warned.
Hello, hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hi, back.
I am so excited for this episode. This minisode, this trope minisode is literally the reason why we started making minisodes, because I needed a trope explained. And I still don't quite understand this trope, but so this trope, the trope that started it all, is cinnamon roll.
Cinnamon roll. So we're still doing our character tropes. What is it? What is bad about it? Do we love it? And some titles that utilize it. So do you want to tell the people what you think a cinnamon roll is?
No, because I don't think that this descriptor fits. I should also say that cinnamon rolls are not a dessert that I grew up with.
No. They're not a dessert at all. They're a breakfast food.
This explains some of my confusion, but also, still, my point stands. Also, the description of this is that it's like crunchy out on the outside and soft and gooey on the inside, and none of that. Right. So please tell me what all the lovely people of the over here think that a cinnamon roll character is, and then we can debate the finer points of breakfast versus dessert at a different time, because anything with that much sugar on it is dessert.
Okay, you can't just drop that bomb on me and then expect me to skip it. It's very hard and I feel very attacked. Okay, so the crunchy on the outside part, forget that part. A cinnamon roll is gooey. They are warm, they are soft, they are non-threatening. They are just like, you just hug them, and a cinnamon roll is the counterbalance to our previous episode about alpha males. They are betas. They are not gonna, there's no threat in a cinnamon roll. A cinnamon roll, sometimes you have to save the cinnamon roll from being eaten by the werewolf.
Wait, I have so many questions on this. I also find that I find this trope really troubling, and a lot about this does not work for me. So
all right,
it's not my jam, really.
Come at me. Let's get into it.
It sort of frustrates me that men have to be non-threatening in order for us to love them, because that's sort of the implication here, right? We talked about alphas with a heart of gold, and we don't start loving them until we get to the gooey center. And the description of non-threatening men in this particular version is also that they are non-threatening, and then we can love them. And that's not a comfortable. I realize these are stereotypes and these are tropes, and that that tropes exist to be defined and then defiled, if you will, obfuscated with. Goodness, I can't talk today. But so that's the part that bothers me, is the implication that a man has to be non-threatening in order for you to have a conversation with him.
I think they need to be non-threatening to the character, or else that's danger.
Right, but then you're just talking about bad guy like villain versus hero, right? There's an implication that there is a threatening hero, because then these guys, by definition, are non-threatening heroes.
Sure.
So, right. So this juxtaposition, so this presupposes that there is another type of non-villain that is in the story.
Right. Well, in the previous episode, we talked about Luke from Mating the Huntress, and in the very first scene we see him, he's hunting down a werewolf hunter. Like, that's a threatening being who eventually becomes our hero. So
right, but my
it's
point is
possible.
that, so it's my point, I guess I'm opposed to the entire conceit, both of alphas and of betas, in terms of telling a story of people. If we're talking about werewolves, if we're talking about fictional supernatural beings, and they are driven by animalistic instincts, alphas, betas, omegas, bring all of them in. Got it.
Okay.
But if we're talking about people that, like many, many thousands of years ago, were driven by those instincts, but now have rationalized fear, I want people to be more dimensional than just like, I'm either this subservient person or I'm a wall that is impenetrable. So that's my issue here.
So this goes back to your whole root problem with tropes and how you hate them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So audience, Sky is going to be the worst during this episode. So prepare yourself emotionally.
Basically,
if you haven't already.
Because I came at it with like, I brought my combat boots.
Sure. Oh, I like it. Always bring your combat boots, please and thank you. Maybe I have a thing for combat boots and I'm just learning it. Here for it. Okay, I'm here for your combat boots. Cinnamon rolls.
Yes.
What I like about a cinnamon roll is that they are extremely anti-patriarchy. They are almost often depicted in a feminist point of view, supporting feminism and females in all that aspect. And so that gets 2 major thumbs up in my book. I think cinnamon rolls are great. That's just me.
Right. So, sorry, back on my soapbox for just a second. But what you're saying is beta males, so people that are not going to be the most successful protectors in the world, are also the only feminists in the book. And that I would like to break. I would like for every character to be a feminist character, right? I understand exactly what you're saying, and that you're absolutely right, that these people who are portrayed as more emotionally available and more equitable and more understanding of the world also aren't portrayed as the most aggressive or protective or dominant person in the world. But my point is that if our dominant heroes would also be equitable, wouldn't that be phenomenal?
I mean, it would be.
And if we equate not being dominant with being feminist, then we've immediately declared this is the second step down.
So, but you're also comparing a main character trope to a main character trope, when really it's a main character trope to a like antagonist trope in every book. It's never 2 main characters, alpha versus beta. It's always alpha versus something else or beta versus something else.
Yes. So my point is simply is that men that are presented as weak are also men that are emotionally available. And it would be amazing if those two didn't have to be married.
But what I like about it is that it's saying that you don't have to be strong to have love, to find love, to get the girl, get the boy, whatever.
Like, I agree with that a lot.
Isn't a weakness.
Yes, you know, right. Physicality isn't necessarily
any kind emotional weakness. Nothing of that sort should be a weakness.
Right. Yes. Agreed. That it does. It does say that love is for everyone. at every level. So perhaps I like the cinnamon roll trope so much that I'm just angry that I like a trope. But honestly, no. Truly, I tried. I just
No.
tried that on and it didn't work. No, I still don't like
Okay.
it. But
Nice
carry
try.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, at any rate, I find it to be one of the perfect tropes. I love a beta male. I feel comfortable reading a beta male. I would be with a beta male. Like this, these are the types of, it's a real human trope to me. It's not a stereotype. So that's how I relate to it in that way. So I love it. You hate it.
I just don't
I'm
like the binary of it, the descriptor of like you must be a beta in order to be understanding. I like three-dimensional people. I really do. I like flawed. Like I like a super flawed, multifaceted character, and this
Mhm.
flattens them out.
But that's
All
what
of these.
every trope
Yep,
does.
that's exactly what I was about to say. All
Okay.
of the tropes flatten it out. Yeah,
And that's the point, is that we're boiling things down when really most of these characters that we talk about in these episodes have more dimension than just this one thing.
sometimes.
Okay. Okay, sometimes. We didn't really talk about an OG cinnamon roll. I'm trying to think of one. I might have to like look at the bookshelf. No, nothing's coming to mind.
Well, uh, in Bridget Jones' Diaries,
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
Colin
the
Firth
Colin
character,
Firth character.
in the movie. Yes, and if I try hard enough, I will find my Bridget Jones book, and I can tell you
Yeah.
what his name is. But he's not actually
Yeah.
a cinnamon roll. He does
Yeah.
not have a gooey soft
But
center.
he's kind of a beta male.
But he's definitely a beta male. That's sort
Yeah.
of the point there. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some other cinnamon rolls.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll talk about some other cinnamon rolls.
Well, so
You
yes.
Yeah.
So the very first one you have on your list, Zafir from Take a Hint, Danny Brown, does not your definition of a cinnamon roll does not fit with my definition of who Zafir is, because to me he is a very strong character emotionally. He's also a very strong character physically, not that that matters,
Uh-huh.
but he carries her and he breaks a table. There's a bunch of like physical prowess on his list, but emotionally he has a significant breadth of range. Like he has a huge range of emotions that he's very in control
Yes.
of and very collected
Yes.
about. And to me, that isn't a beta male presentation at all. That's a presentation of a very well-adjusted and brave person who has faced their emotional depths and can articulately talk about them.
I put him on this list because I think if he was forced into a situation, a physical confrontation, he would back down. Which is what
I think he would de-escalate it. Not
Yes, but yes.
That's not the same.
But if it was a pack of wolves, that would make Zafir not the alpha.
Right.
That would
So
therefore make him the beta.
So my issue is with the fact that we're comparing it to wolves.
Sure. But also a beta male is in touch with their emotions. And you just said that that is what he is.
But an alpha male is also in charge of their emotions.
No.
If they're not in charge of their emotions, we're not interested in reading about them.
They're in charge of everything. They're not in touch with them, they're in charge of them. There's a disconnect there. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
This is the best episode we've ever made, I'm absolutely sure.
Just yelling at each other.
Yeah. I'm gonna think of so many good things to say to you after we stop recording this. So just prepare yourself.
I'm ready.
Okay. Benji from Falling in Luck by Marianne Marlowe, which is a book you just finished.
Yes. I would describe him a little bit of a wet blanket.
Uh-huh.
which
Is
is not a
he
good thing.
but is that not a beta male? Is that not a
Yeah,
beta?
he's very representatively a wet blanket.
Yeah.
And
And
so
do you just wanna like, wrap him in a blanket and, like,
I mean, I
cuddle?
definitely want to save him from himself, but no,
Mm.
I had a really hard time uh, with her choice of him
Sure,
because
okay.
I did not see redeeming qualities in him.
Oh, shit, son.
Like he he was a great nursemaid. He was very
Mhm,
good at taking care of her when she
mhm,
was in medical emergencies, but I did not understand what, other than taking care of her in those emergencies, what emotional needs he fulfilled for her.
okay, alright.
And I it just like I but
That's a review of this book, not is he
no,
a
I mean
cinnamon roll.
he is absolutely a beta male, even by comparison to other men in the book who are not all of them are aggressive, not all of them are alphas,
Mhm,
but
yeah,
he's definitely the least
yeah.
threatening
Least
blanket.
aggressive, least
That's
aggressive.
right. But it did not, so I guess most significantly, this trope does not work for me because I don't want them. Right? The whole
Okay,
point is
alright.
to want one, and
Mhm,
I don't want one
mm,
because I constantly think about
cinnamon rolls.
taking care of them like
Mhm,
children.
mhm.
And I don't want a child. I mean, I don't want my partner to be a child.
Yes.
I want my partner to be a partner, and this is where
Okay,
this like, don't you want to hug them? I'm like, yeah, I do want to rescue them, like a rescue animal, but that is not a relationship I should have with my partner. And because that is my reaction to reading them, I then don't find them sexy, and then I have a hard time.
sure,
Now, you have
sure.
Jake from How to Fail at Flirting on here,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and
'Cause he's so comfortable
he is
and
comfortable.
non-threatening, and, like, he just gets it, and you're just like, "Aw, Jake.
He does
Aw."
get it. So I think it's sort of, so I guess, so I love a man who gets it. That is
Yeah,
fine, but I don't feel like he needs rescuing or
uh-huh,
hugging. Like, he's good. He's on, just like Zafir. He's good. He
mhm.
just also now has the emotional bandwidth to share it with her. But
Okay.
he doesn't
So
need
you
her to
don't
validate him.
so you don't like the cinnamon roll that requires rescuing, you don't like the damsel in distress cinnamon roll.
Nope.
You like you like the strong, hearty cinnamon roll.
I-
Stands on its
Yes.
own. I
Yes.
see.
Stands on
Alright.
its
Okay.
own. So I do like a
Alright.
crunchy outside, apparently.
You apparently do really like a crunchy outside.
Now we know. I've
Fantastic.
come around.
Great.
I've come around. Crunchy
No, you
outside
haven't.
cinnamon roll.
No. No, you haven't. But I also probably really botched describing this. So, listeners, viewers, come at me because I'm prepared. I know what I've done.
Thank you for trying.
Ugh, I'm exhausted now. It's okay. So are you, dear audience human, gonna pick up this book now that you've heard our review? Let us know in the comments. Have a suggestion for another review? Slide on into our DMs.
If you like this adventure in books or updates on our upcoming projects, please follow, like, save, subscribe, rate, review us on Instagram at l.skyford, on Twitch at lskyford, and on Twitter at skyfordl. Phew. I'm Sky.
And I'm Ford. And that's it for this minisode. We will see you next time on Booklandia, where every book is a whole world to explore.